Hey, I'm Joe Brown.
And I'm Robert Rushing.
And we're the Old Government Guys. Old Government Guys is a podcast where we seek to highlight ordinary feds who do extraordinary things and shed light on and recognize your friends, family, and neighbors who comprise the government workforce. Too often, their work goes unnoticed, and we want to put a face on the fellow feds and share with you their stories and accomplishments in a fun and respectful way.
Hey, Old Government Guy Robert here. Welcome to episode lucky number 13, where we hear from Mr. Mike Nelson, former FSRM programmer, subject matter expert, all things policy, who shares with us his military and civilian career. And then we also revisit Mr. Ed Bakunas, who starts out telling a funny story, but actually shares with us some nuggets that I think is important for current and new feds, things to think about as they progress through their career. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Take care. Hey, Robert Rushing here, one of the Old Government Guys, and today I've got the privilege of sitting down with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mike Nelson, who's got about 30 years of total service.
Yeah, 37.
37? Oh, I didn't even get that right. All good.
That's great.
So, Mike, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your career?
Sure. Well, that's pretty broad, but so Mike Nelson, I retired from the Air Staff, where I work on the Directorate of Civil Engineers. I am the program manager right now for the Facility Sustainment, Restoration, and Modernization program, the policy part of that. Yeah, big fancy title that just says basically we spend O&M money fixing buildings. And my career, wow, I would have to say my career is kind of one of being naive has its benefits, and where we just I just kind of stumbled into every single job and made it what it was. I started the Air Force out of ROTC, out of Montana State University.
Okay.
And and my wife was active duty, also a contracting officer, which that has its own story. She graduated from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, so that's smart engineers go there, and it was kind of funny because when we started active duty, our first assignment was England Air Force Base in Louisiana, and so you see England and you think one thing, and then you end up in Louisiana, which was fantastic. To us, it was a foreign country, and we enjoyed that. But when we headed there, my wife had TDY en route for her contracting training. And she got there, and they, second lieutenant, and they're going around the room introducing themselves. And she said, "Oh, well, my husband's a civil engineer." And they said, "Oh, well, your marriage won't last." And so we had no clue. And that's how you start your career, I guess, is being told that. But fantastic assignment in Louisiana, and then the base was closing, and I had the great opportunity, just once again, not knowing what I was doing, and somebody said, "You should do this," to go to the GEAM program at AFIT and get my master's in engineering and environmental management. So the Air Force, paid me to be a full-time student. It was great, and came out of that, and they wanted you to stay in some type of environmental job after that, and I had just went outside the CE career field for a while and worked in the C-17 program office. So
wow.
Tells you how long ago it was, because that was a new weapon system.
That's right.
And that was fascinating, because we were going through the stage of deciding whether they should go from low rate production to full rate production. So a lot of our bosses were all doing a lot of congressional testimony, and we had to prepare all the documents to justify it. And I spent a lot of time in the plant where they were manufactured, and my job was to make it environmentally good.
That's right.
And so that was pretty fascinating, and I even considered staying in that community, and something kept tugging at me to come back to the civil engineer world.
That's
right. And at the time they were saying, "Hey, everybody's going to stay somewhere for 5 years. We're not going to spend as much money moving people around." And then a buddy of mine got non-volunteered when we got there at the same time. So I called the personnel center, and they said, "Oh, you're next." So, "Oh no, wait!" And I said, "Okay, we need to work a joint spouse assignment." And they said, "Oh, we got a couple for you." And one of them wasn't great, and they said, "Well, the other one is at Lakenheath in England." And we said, "We don't want to go overseas." And I'm sure on the other end of the phone, they're just going, "What's the matter with this guy?" And
Yeah.
so because we didn't know how long we wanted to be in the Air Force. It wasn't our, we didn't have career ambitions,
Sure.
and so we said we'll use the Air Force to see as much of our country as we can. And but we had no choice, and so we went to Lakenheath, and I remember being there, sitting around this table with all the other officers, and people are kind of telling where they came from, and it's kind of good. I noticed a theme of people doing unaccompanied remotes so that they could go to Lakenheath, and I was told I had to go to Lakenheath, and once again, just being naive, and just one more time, just was a fantastic assignment, just a great tour, and we learned so much about the Air Force and about kind of what bits and pieces of what the rest of the world's like outside of what we've been sheltered in. I'm from small town Montana, and which has its absolute benefits, but you don't get exposure to everything. And so that was kind of our first big jump to see a different part of the world, and just had a lot of really neat experiences and a lot of great people I still keep in touch with there. And but then back here to the AMC staff, the Air Mobility Command staff, back when we had pretty big, robust staffs. And another, I could, so many stories from that job, and I could go on. And then I had the great opportunity once again for the Air Force to pay me to go to school, and went to Air Command and Staff College.
All right.
And that was, I wasn't excited about going there, which seems odd. I should have been, and I wasn't. Once again, being naive. And really neat opportunity there, just to meet so many Air Force people, but then all the foreign officers.
Yes.
And just fantastic. And then over to the Azores, and to live at, went to lodges for 2 years, and holy cow, I just, one more eye opener, and loved the people there, loved the lifestyle, loved the job, the mission. Everybody told us that would be kind of a sleepy base. We'd finally get some rest, and absolutely wasn't. Of course, we were there during Combat Proud, and we didn't have it as bad as the Ramstein folks did, but it was nonstop for a couple of years, but in a very great way. And we tried to extend, and my wife was a squadron commander at the time, and we couldn't stay there, and so that was a cool thing. And then somewhere along that way, with some of my buddies of mine, Dave Peach and some others that people may know, we had kind of had this sort of a bet who could go your whole career and not go to the Air Staff. It was like a goal. Don't go to the Air Staff. And so I think I was the last one to go. And that happened out of lodges. I really did not want to go to the Pentagon. And General Fox, who I'd worked for before, got a call, and he said, "I think this is what you're going to do next." And so we did, and got there and told him, "Hey, sir, I think this is a 2-year touch and go. I don't want to be around the city, don't want to work on the Air Staff." And of course, he's looking at me like, "I don't know that you get a vote," but we did, and went there, and that was 20 years ago.
Wow.
It's still there, and it's just one more time of not really knowing what opportunities in front of you and what it's all about, and just kind of keeping an open mind and saying, "Okay, I'm in this job, and I'm just going to give it my go." And it turns out fantastic. And you worry about the job you're in right then, and that's kind of what I did all along. And it's kind of cliche to say I've never had a bad assignment, because you make it what it is, and that's been absolutely true for us. So I did that for 4 years of active duty. Really neat jobs there on the Air Staff, and I retired, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I guess you can say I either didn't grow up or I found what I wanted to do, and maybe it's both. And I decided to put in to work as a civil servant on the Air Staff, basically doing a job very similar to what I was doing, and got hired by my colleague Nancy Balkus, and she hired me, and I've spent the last 16, 17 years doing the job I'm in now.
Wow.
And just have loved it, have loved the mission, have loved the people. So that's, I mean, that in a nutshell of 37 years, but there's so many fantastic things along the way in doing those things. So.
Well, let's talk about a couple of those fantastic things, because I always like to ask people that if you look back at your career, and is there a project or an office or something that you kind of look back at and go, wow, I can't believe I was part of this effort, this organization. And there could be more than one for sure. Yeah.
I don't think your podcast is long enough to cover all those, because it just, even the seemingly small job turned out to be fascinating. And one of the first ones I can remember was at Lake and Heath. And I have to say, I was not excited about going to be the environmental flight commander there. It just was not my thing. It wasn't my world, but I kind of owed it for my degree. And so that's what I went there to do. And that job was so good for me, and hopefully it was good for the installation and the command too. But one of the things that happened there is under me was the natural resources, cultural resources, and all that. Well, they were building a dorm on the base, and they uncovered a Saxon cemetery.
I think I remember this.
Yeah. You may have. It was big news.
Yes.
And so my office was responsible for making sure that was all conserved properly. Wow. So they, fortunately, the project itself had built in some delays for the potential for that. And so sure enough, we had to shut down construction. And so I had guys in my shop who were giving tours almost daily, and we had the Discovery Channel in there. The British Museum came in and took some of the pieces out. Most of it, they just went in and documented and then covered it back up and dug around or whatever. But that's kind of one of those ones you're just, you're doing your job, working with the aircraft maintenance guys and everybody to make sure environmental stuff's good. And then, then you uncover a Saxon cemetery. Yeah. So, and so you're doing all of that. And we were on but our story was on the cover of magazines and all over the place. And, so that's just one of those pretty unbelievable kind of things that just set you back. Shortly after that, when I was on the AMC staff, I had the opportunity to be the European en route manager. Oh, yeah. And the en route is just the AMC bases that you need, in my part, in Europe to get to where they need to get to in the AOR. That's right. So I learned all about that, and I had to go program all the projects all over Europe that we needed to enable AMC's mission. And one of the ones that I got to do was closing Rhein-Main Air Base. Oh, yeah. And move that mission to Ramstein and Spangdahlem. And man, I learned a lot about mobility in that and what's needed. And we renovated the Ramstein passenger terminal and the freight terminal and some ramp space. But at Spangdahlem, which prior to that was just a fighter base.
That's right.
And so I programmed the project to build an entire ramp, on a heavy aircraft ramp on the side of the hill. And it was built after I was done, and I've had the opportunity to go back and see it since then. But that was pretty fascinating to turn a fighter base into a dual mission base with AMC's unit. So that was neat. But I'd have to say my biggest honor, though, is one that we just have done recently on the air staff as a civilian. And this actually originated in meetings with you. When back, I was on the air staff, and when you were in the Air Force Civil Engineer Center, used to have these AMP manager meetings, AMP managers and sub-AMP managers. CPA. Yeah, you would get together and just to make sure you were all in sync. And one time you or somebody invited me down and say, hey, come tell us some policy stuff. And I said, okay, I'll do that. And I sat there for 3 days because my section was a 1-hour brief or whatever. Yeah. And I just watched all the things that you all were doing. And I just thought, we didn't know anything about all of it. Well, we knew a little bit, but not much. And I remember asking, hey, can you invite me to your next one? Yeah. And the next one, the next one. And so out of that, one of the things I saw was all the amazing things that our intermediate headquarters were doing. And then I could hear on the side in my day-to-day job, all the stuff the base needed. Yeah. And the communication is hard. Yes. And so the headquarters were having trouble getting information to the bases, and the bases were having trouble getting information back or requesting what they needed or whatever. So I remember going to my boss, and it wasn't just me, there was several of us, Clint Townsend and Jennifer Kilborn and some other people brainstorming on some things and saying, let's just get everybody together. And so we said, well, who are the people that need to talk? And it was the programmers in the engineering flight, the project programmers, and the R&O, requirements and optimization folks in the ops flight. That's the people who really set the requirements of what needs to get done to enable missions.
That's right.
And so let's bring all of them together and talk. And so we worked through it, and it was a little bit of a painful process, but we got General Allen to agree to it one time because you got one shot. Cue Eminem, and so we tried to get 2 people from every base there. We got pretty close to that, 1 from each flight, and we had about almost 300 civil engineers we brought together, and intermediate headquarters, AFCAC, IMSC, MAGCOMs, AFIT, us, and we, no kidding, just talked it out for 3 days, and the feedback we got after that was just beyond what I could expect.
Yeah.
You know, the approval rating was like 97%, and the bases were just super thirsty for information and to give their information.
That's right.
And what I can say is everybody at every level went away with homework, which was the goal.
That's right.
And so we've done 8 of those now, and every single one of them, you know, several of them, we had 17 base level speakers presenting, which is kind of good because you see these cool tools that they develop, but then you go, they developed a tool because there was a gap.
There's a need.
There was a shortfall.
Right.
And so we at the headquarters need to go look at that and see what do they need and how can we help, or how can we stay out of their way, or whatever, you know, it's all of that. So we've done 8 of those. Several of them had to be virtual for the pandemic, or, you know, we couldn't travel for a while and things like that. So, but the feedback we got each year was each one got better, and which is also a goal. It was pretty satisfying to kind of lead a team this team that was motivated and hardworking, and put it all together, and then go there and have 300 civil engineers just talking to each other. That's and right. Meeting in the hallway, outside the sessions, inside the sessions, and then at the end saying, you know, we did that, and the field liked it, you know, and they appreciated it. And so that's probably the one that I kind of take the biggest good feeling away from, and just to watch the team work and watch as with everything, watch civil engineers do great things.
That's right.
And then to go away from there, because you're immediately impacting 300 people, and then, you know, and then we had another 700 online. And then they're going away into their squadrons and saying, "Hey, this is what I learned, and hey, let's go watch this video." And hopefully, you know, their performance is improving, and we're enabling missions better than we were the day before. You know, so
I've got seriously goosebumps you talking about this, because that's the stuff I miss, if I'm being honest.
right.
And those. So you didn't mention it. So it's the requirement development workshop.
Requirements development workshop.
That's right.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And as a planner, like it's just like, if we put a little more time and effort upstream,
that's right.
You know, then we can, I'm not going to say solve, but we can make the execution and everything else a little easier with that time and effort.
That's right. And is it, you know, we always say, is it the right project, the right requirement at the right time for the right scope at the right cost? And that's hard to do. And this just takes one step toward making that better.
That's right.
And so pretty cool. And as you know, as with everything in our career field, it's just, I keep saying it, great people doing great things, and it's just fun to watch that and be a part of it. So yeah, pretty cool thing.
No, and I to this day I still get positive feedback from that. I'll see it on LinkedIn. I'll have friends that'll post it on their Facebook pages, you know. And so my hat's off to you, because I know that's not easy, getting all the cats in the room together at the same time.
Right.
But I think it's incredibly valuable. So
well, it is, and one of the things that's challenging is people who haven't been part of it are just kind of like, you want to do what?
Yeah,
you know, sounds like a boondoggle. You could bring, you know, how much work they could be getting done at home and all that. And then when those same people go and attend it, and they're part of it, and they're with the people, and we'll say, and you're talking, and then they come back and go, "Holy cow, that was amazing!" And you know, our team can pat ourselves on the back, and we should, because the team really does a good job. But it's really it's kind of makes itself good,
Right.
Because the people are you just recognize, oh, that person's having that problem at that base. I can identify that. We talk to each other on the headquarters. People go, I didn't even know that was a problem, and so it's just
That's right.
it just I don't know, like I said, it just makes itself good.
I think sessions or events, whatever you want to call it, like that, are good because, especially in the Air Force CE career field, those folks keep their head down, they do their jobs, and they're just grinding every day. And sometimes you have to come up for air.
You're right.
Sometimes you have to know, I'm working something.
That's right. That's right.
And you don't know that someone else is working the exact same problem.
Right.
And that's up and down, from the headquarters down to the base, that's laterally across multiple bases. And I think to highlight, common challenges or things that work. I mean, it's not always about getting together and complaining about stuff. Sometimes someone's come up, like you said, with a tool or something that you can go, hey, we can apply this everywhere. And that it makes the enterprise more efficient and better at what we do.
It absolutely does. And if nothing else, I shouldn't even say that. When going away, you've just made 299 friends.
That's right.
And so now you know who to call and who to talk to, and it's not just some electrons on the other end of a Teams call.
Yeah.
It's somebody who you've met and you've talked to, and you know that it's not somebody out there complaining in the wind.
That's right.
And they've got a real problem that you hope that you can help solve. And so that's kind of the cool part. Or people who you have your own thing that you need to work. And I one of the things that I brief sometimes when I get to brief the AFIT, Air Force Institute of Technology students and other forums like this, and I put up this org chart, because briefing an org chart is exciting. But the whole intention is to show how the headquarters fits and who fits where, and I talk about all that. And there's dashed lines on there, which are just communication lines, and then there's solid lines, which are chain of command lines. And so, and in the end, the whole thing looks like spaghetti. But the punchline is, if you just follow the solid lines, not everybody's in the same chain of command. And so people aren't working for each other. They don't have the same boss. But at the end of the day, we're trying to deliver the same thing. We're trying to enable missions at bases. Whatever your mission is at your base, we're trying to make sure the infrastructure is there to enable that. And so since we don't have unity of command, we need unity of effort. And we've heard some of our bosses say that before. And that really depends on relationships. Yeah. And so when you send at the air staff, you send tasks out to people, and people don't like it, and justifiably so. But if you've met that person on the other end, you can call them up and say, hey, I really need this information to answer this congressional inquiry or whatever. So you've built that relationship already, right. and they'll be responsive, where they're allowed to be. And same the other way. We hope we're responsive to their requests too. So, and this workshop and others like AFCEC has the planning and programming workshop, which is our sister event. We hot wash and give each other information. And when you go to events like that, it's just a huge enabler, I think, to what we do.
100% agree. So I want to hit on two things. One thing you said, like communicating is hard.
Right.
And so tell a little quick story. So my last organization, I would tell my staff, I'm like, the communication is the hardest thing we do. I don't have a resource problem. I don't have a requirements problem. I have a problem communicating that I don't have enough resources to meet the requirement. And, they're like, well, what are you talking about? And I said, well, I've been married for 26 years,
right.
And my wife can finish my sentences a lot of times, and yet we still get our wires crossed. And if I can't effectively communicate with my spouse, imagine taking that and multiplying it across 75 installations worldwide,
right.
More, organizations. And so let's work on communication. And there are people who can do that, digitally, but I think there's no substitute for bringing people together face to face and having those conversations.
Absolutely. That's right. Yeah. So cool thing. And it was funny because I had said a little while ago that General Allen said, okay, you got one shot at it. And so, and it turns out something came up. He had to go do one of his general officer things, so he wasn't going to be there to open it. And at the last minute, his thing got canceled, and he said, okay, I got 15 minutes. I'll come open your event. And I want to say, oh, it's your event.
It's your event,
but he did. And so we played a really cool video at the end. The Secretary of the Air Force narrated, we are kind of a civil engineer hoorah thing. And so we played that and kind of a little bit of hype to start off. And then I handed him the microphone, and So he started off by saying, "When you guys come back next year," all
Yes.
it took was that room full
That's
of people, and he saw it, and so and it turned out great. And like I said, each one's gotten better, so it's been
Good
pretty
deal.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned I have just a quick Lodges story. So
Okay,
you were at
excellent.
Lodges.
Oh, yes.
I was on the safety staff because you said combat proud. So the exact same time, I was there for during that time as well. I'll just say that. So there was a captain or a lieutenant out there who was in charge of like the airfield or part of like airfield waiver, because that was one of the things that I did as a planner. And I just remember, I don't know if you were there for this. He called me and said, "Hey, I've got a question for you. We had a cow that rolled down a hill and it knocked a fence over. Can I use that as proof that the fence is frangible?" I still have that email because for a long time after that, I was like, the cow rolling down the hill frangibility
Yeah,
test.
there you go.
Yeah,
That sounds very Lodges.
that's my one. Like, I had to laugh. You know, like, I don't know. Let me check. You know, Mike Gates is gonna love this call. What?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's one of those assignments. It's a bummer that it's changed. I understand missions change, and it's not quite the same tour that it used to be. Still, I'm sure a fantastic tour, but it wasn't a company tour. And that's, like I said, my wife was active duty, and she went there to be a squadron commander, and I was ops chief and engineering flight chief. Got to do both of those, and so yeah, pretty cool tour, and great people who I once again. People who I still keep in touch with that live on that island, and really neat.
Well, I'm surprised we didn't cross paths sooner, because you were there when I was on the staff, and then Gino hooked me in to be the base planner at Ramstein to support RMI before it became RMTP.
Okay.
And so we had a base level PMO, then John Thompson, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, the headquarters level PMO out of the I think it was, I can't remember what they used to, the office symbols changed because we went to the A staff while I was there. But yeah, so I got to do a little bit of on the Ramstein side.
So that was that Colonel Berlindi times, or
so actually yes. So I was base level first, did that for a year, a little over a year, and then I went up to command for the tail end of Hagstrom.
Okay.
And then Verlindi came on about 6 weeks after I was hired.
Okay.
So I have one funny Verlindi story because
I have several.
Yeah, we went to I don't basically like the command version of the I can't remember the OG meeting anymore. But so General Simpson, 2-star. Like, I'm brand new to the command, and he maybe one of his first meetings with a GO, like, I don't know. He's like, "Come with me." Okay, and we're over there. And General Simpson's like, "I don't understand why we've got 7 different sets of criteria, blah, 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 all throughout Europe, and I want, like, one thing." And I didn't even look at Berlin. I'm like, "Well, I can do that." We get out of there, it's like, "What do you think you're doing?" So I'm the one who unified USAFE's criteria.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It's not my name on it. It was my successor because we'd gotten through 8 of the 10 steps to get it published, and someone went, "Hey, some of these graphics have single and double hash versus feet and inches. You have to go back and change them." I'm like, So Scott Ensign, shout out Scott Ensign.
Yeah. Excellent.
I turned all my CAD files over because I had to build those, and he made the changes. And then the planner, whose name I'm not going to think of, his first name was John, who took my place. It was his name on it that was published, but it's just kind of like, to me, that's one of those things I look back on. I'm like, wow, that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, really.
But, John, whatever. Unfortunately, he passed away on the job. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So he was another good guy, but yeah, took his, I think it was like 76 Cadillac Coupe de Ville to Germany to drive that on the Autobahn. You can just imagine how that went. Like excerpts from Starsky and Hutch.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So good deal. So another thing sorry, I feel like I'm running through here.
No, perfect.
One of the things I kind of ask folks is when you look back at your career, because you can do it alone, but I think those of us who've been pretty successful typically didn't do it alone.
Oh, absolutely not.
Do you have some folks or a person or someone that you look back on your career and go, yeah, I really like they gave me the nudge or opened a door or provided you some guidance that really helped you with your career.
Oh my goodness. That should be an easy question to answer, and it is not. And it is not just because there's just so many. And it's kind of funny because I think of I heard a pastor once talking about sermons, and his comment was, my mother cooked me a lot of meals. I don't remember them all, but they all nourished me. and so that's kind of how I feel like my career is gone. There are so many people who have done things, some that I probably may not even known about, that have just done really good things, whether it was, somebody senior or a colleague or even junior people. I mean, where does an officer get without a great senior NCOs, right? And so, or even junior NCOs, and anybody who can kind of say, no, you should walk over here, not over there. Yeah. And I guess if I came up with one name, the first one, and it would be General Fox, I mentioned earlier, and worked for him a couple different times. And when I was on the AMC staff, and just kind of watching how he dealt with people and dealt with his colonels and GS-15s and other leaders. And then I had the chance to be his exec, and which is kind of a little bit of a funny story, because it's the only job I think I ever really interviewed for. And when I went into it, I told him I didn't want to do it, and I told him I was not interested, and I don't know if it was good for our family or whatever reasons. And he just kind of looked at me and said, "So if you were selected, you'd do a good job, right?" And I said, "Well, of course, sir. I'd give it my best shot." And 2 weeks later, I was his exec, and so I guess I said what he wanted. Maybe he appreciated honesty. I don't know. Yeah. But then I really got to watch him work and deal with people, and I learned so much about our career field doing that. And the I think it was 12 AMC bases, and you could see how each of them was functioning. And squadron commander boards, I got to sit on those, right behind him, and all the other, General Robbins and all the other generals and colonels then, and just hear them talk about things and how they dealt with things, and then later he was the one who brought me to the air staff, as I said, and so those were certainly nudges that I didn't want to do. And once again, I come back to what I said at the beginning about being naive. But going into every job saying, "Oh, this is what I'm doing now," and do the best I can. And so I would have to say that he was probably a pretty big influence. But I look at so many commanders I had, or flight chiefs, or whatever level I was at, and just, I think, a lot of your career, you think about things you did, but I think a lot of what in my career was things I watched. Right. And just, that's where you really learn, and that kind of enables you to do the next thing or whatever it is. And so just watching great people do great things and learning from that, and kind of trying to be a little bit observant and saying, "Oh, I saw what that person did, and I see how they worked that," or I'm just kind of, as I'm saying all this, I'm just trying to, lots of faces and names are going through my head, and who I worked with. And I would say I probably learned as much from my colleagues as I did anything. When I started on the air staff, I went right into the installation support panel. So didn't know anything about the air staff, didn't know anything about the Air Force corporate structure. And now I'm in the job where we defend the entire civil engineer portfolio. And we didn't have I was the deputy panel chair, and we didn't have a panel chair at the time, that we didn't have a colonel. But the panel poke was Mike Myers, and holy cow, what an amazing person. It was so great to work with him, and he's now at USAFE. And so I can just, I think we only worked together for about a year, maybe it was 2, but just because I deployed during that. And that was just great to work with him, and just to see a really smart person do good things. And like, okay, I wish I could do that. But he's one I think of that I've learned, and then we've been in contact over the years to just, hey, what do you think about this? And usually we're pretty in sync, and pretty great. But I have to say, almost every boss I've had has been great. Yeah. But there's been a couple who weren't. I think we've all had those. And you learn as much from them. That's right. like when I was actually a comm officer once told me when I worked at the support group, and he saw an incident with a civil engineer that wasn't great, and he just came to me and he said, "You civil engineers carry 2 toolboxes." And I just, okay, is this going to be a civil engineer joke or whatever? And he goes, "You put your good tools in this one and you put your not so good tools in that one, but you got to know what they both are." And so that was kind of a leadership when he was talking about leadership and how you handle situations and the incident that had just happened. And you know that, but then when somebody says it, it kind of cements it for you. And so then you're a little more observant of things like that. And so it's kind of odd to say maybe this one comm officer was a little bit of a mentor to me. And
absolutely.
And we usually make fun of the comm folks, but he was a pretty great leader too. And so, I'm really rambling around the question, but it just, there's just so many, civil engineers are so plug and play. You go somewhere and you are immediately in touch with whoever you're around, and somebody's maybe they're going to debate with you and argue with you or correct you, but then they're also going to watch out for you and take care of you and teach you and help you. And so it really is just, gosh, every single assignment there was somebody like that.
So I won't say it's rambling. What I would say, and this goes back to something so I'm just going to kind of bounce around a little bit. It's been my experience, especially in CE and then later with the Department of Interior, if I'm being honest, that like 85, 90% of the people I work with, they're intelligent, they're competent, they're committed.
Yes.
And, it's kind of like, hey, who is the one person? Like, you what? Have you got all day? Like I could.
Right.
It would be easier if you said, name the one person who was a slug. If I'm being honest, because
I know that guy.
Yeah, I can tell you who that person was.
There's one.
But it's that, that career fit throughout my career. I am, when I talk to people, I think I had a very blessed career. I had great bosses, great peers, like everywhere I've been. And, there's some bosses or whatever out there, leaders that have that reputation. Like, I can't believe you work for them. Like, I did. And I enjoyed it. Right. It's just like, to your point, you learn a little bit from, my thing is like, I'm a good thief. Like if I see someone who's doing something and it works, like I'm going to make that mine.
Right.
And to your point, like even some of the tougher bosses, like I took things away from them and I would do those jobs again. If I'm being honest. And it's just like, just what a great career field. And that's why, like in here, like I can't give you one name, and I'm kind of beaming because, like, I know, like, it's, I don't know.
It is. Really you really take nuggets from everybody, and kind of be silly about it. You got a bag full of gold at the end because of all the people that you've taken something from. So yeah.
So I've been, this is something relatively new. I forgot to mention this before we started filming. If you had some advice that you were going to give someone who was starting out their career or like kind of midway through a career, and it didn't have to be like one nugget or something, but we've talked about people that have helped you, things that you've seen. Could you just wax poetic a little bit about some advice that you could?
That's a tall order.
You would give
wax poetic. People on my team know that I get in front of a microphone and I'm usually very brief. That's sarcasm. I don't think I've done a briefing on time ever. But holy cow! The one thing that did frustrate me sometimes in my career is I did have a couple bosses that had their careers planned out.
Yeah.
And that baffled me because I keep saying this, I was so naive. I didn't even know about a career, and I never even planned going past the first 4 years. And it was just, okay, do the job that I'm doing now because the next job that'll take care of the next job.
Right.
So I think that's, for me, that was what worked. Was just, you kind of hear bloom where your planet or whatever, something like that. But it really is if you're thinking about the next job, then you're probably not doing enough in your current job. I don't know. If I was really going to give somebody advice, maybe I would frame it in the Air Force core values.
Yeah.
And my team has heard me talk about this a lot. And I think they're pretty spot on. And you think of the first one and the last one. The first one is integrity first. And that one, I think you can probably be a professional without integrity.
Yeah.
But if you're a professional
Excuse me.
with integrity, then you're a trusted professional.
Right.
And that's pretty powerful. And so I think integrity first, that's the big one. And then the last one is excellence in all you do. And that's pretty self-explanatory. Just do good work and do your best. And but the middle one, I think, is sometimes misinterpreted: service before self. And I think some people look at that and they think that's all about sacrifice. And there certainly will be sacrifice. All of us know it, that different types of sacrifice and different levels, there's always going to be some. But I don't think that's what that one calls for. I think what it means is why you do the job.
Yeah.
And in our business, you do the job to serve. And you serve the organization and you serve the people.
Yep.
And the people of the organization and the people of the country. And so that's what the service before self means, is I'm doing the job to serve them, not me.
That's right.
And so, but I believe that if you do the job to serve the organization or the people, then it will serve you.
That's right.
And so that's kind of probably the advice I would give, is follow the core values.
Yeah.
And be sincere about it. And I mean, you certainly can think about your career, but I really do think that kind of stuff will take care of itself if you're doing good work. And the other one I would say is that this is just a work style thing. And my style is usually to go in and observe before I speak. And some people may not agree that I do that, but because I usually don't hold back in speaking what's on my mind, but it's usually been after some time. I don't try to go into a room and establish myself. I really try to establish rapport and hopefully gain a little credibility. And so that's what I would do. It's just, some jobs you can't. You just got to jump in and go. But I think just observing and learning, because there are so many good people around you, that going in and just kind of getting the lay of the land, and then when you got that, establish yourself and go in and just do good things and be creative. Most bosses want good ideas, that even if it's something different, and hopefully they're open to it. I think all of my bosses have been, and sometimes they'll tell you, that's not a good idea, and then you kind of lick your wounds, you go back and you come up with another good idea. So,
that's right.
Anyway, so that's kind of how I would go.
I think that's great advice.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
Good.
Well, I think that's about all the questions I've got for you.
Okay.
Unless there's anything you want to say kind of towards the end, or one thing the reason why we're doing the podcast, folks that listen have heard this time and again, is, I think that there's a lot that we do that just never leaves our offices or our organization. I think there's a lot of good work that feds do, military, civilian, both. And, there's a lot of unique challenges that we solve every day. There's a lot of unique missions that we execute, all in support of the government and the taxpayer. And so if you want to add any commentary to that, I think I would, welcome that, or anything.
Yeah, so the taxpayer, I guess that's you and me, right?
That's right.
And all of us. So we're all the taxpayers, and I think the taxpayers don't have to worry about getting their money's worth out of military members, civil servants, and even our contract support staff. I mean, and I already mentioned service before self. It's one of the core values, and I believe that almost everybody in our organization is living those core values, and everybody I've worked with, and so. So I think we often talk about being good stewards of the taxpayer dollars, and that's kind of about projects and how we're going and doing infrastructure things. But I also think it's the resource of people. Yeah. And so there is the taxpayer should not think twice about whether they're getting their money's worth out of Air Force employees. And so I don't work in. I've seen other government agencies that work, and I my impression is it's the same, not as close to those. Across our entire department, I think it's that way, and people are dedicated, and you could talk the hours they put in or whatever that, I don't know if you measure people's worth in the hours they work or not, but the productivity and dedication is unmatched.
Yeah,
So,
I would tend to agree. I 100% agree. I guess I'll say that
right.
when it comes to Air Force. And then I do have some experience in other departments and
Right.
working with other departments. And I've yet to see kind of that, the kind of the public perception federal worker, you know, it's just
Right.
kind of like, I'm sure they're out there.
There are.
I've not seen them.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and so the folks I work with are just, like I said, they're intelligent, they're committed, and they're giving everything they can. And everywhere I've been, it's like we're stewards of taxpayers' dollars.
Right.
It's my dollars too. Like, you know,
That's right.
would I spend the money on this if it makes sense? Yes. If it doesn't, shut it down. You know, and
Right.
and I can't think of a bunch of folks that, you know, that are more committed. You know, I have my heart still with the Air Force civil engineer. But yeah, to your point, like that's an outstanding group of folks.
It is, and I don't know how many of your listeners that term civil engineer.
Tens and tens.
Well,
like,
perfect.
Tens and tens of listeners.
Well, maybe my family will listen to this,
Yeah.
and you'll get 3 more.
Double, yeah.
So the civil engineers as you know, are not all just civil engineers, right?
Right.
You know, they've got many types of engineers, but then there's planners, as you know, and architects, and craftsmen, and other clerks and administrative folks that do so many things in our business, and it takes. It's kind of an unfortunate label, I think, the civil engineer label, a little bit. I mean, we all know what it means, and so I think we can get past that. But to the kind of the lay person out there, there's a lot of people and so many different skill sets that come together and make and operate the installations and make them go and make them do good things. And so I kind of wanted to highlight that
Yes.
when folks hear civil engineers, it's this great conglomerations of many skill sets, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, my second guest was Gary Jackson, former Air Force high voltage electrician. And
That's right. Yeah.
You know, and that just great stories. You know, and I wanted to get some craftsman folks in there. I'm still looking for craftsman folks, to,
Right.
to come in, because just really good stories. And like you said, it takes more than just the engineers to run an installation.
That's right. Yeah.
But engineers
Lead the way.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks, Mike. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. I'm really glad you're doing this. This is really a neat thing. And so I'd love to listen to these and hearing people's stories. So
yeah, it's all about the people.
That's right.
People make the world go around. All right. Thanks. Hey, Robert Rushing here, and I'm with my friend Bo Bloomer. He's with Checkmate Group.
Yeah.
And Bo's going to tell you about the services that he can help you with if you're looking to PCS.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Robert. So yeah, we're a real estate team. We're here with Century 21 Redwood. We have offices all over Northern Virginia, DC, and Maryland. And we help people find a house that they can make a home. And it's cool because both the civilian and military individuals who are coming in, who are PCSing in, they might just get their orders and they are already, looking to, usually it's one of the other, individual in the family, the spouse or whoever is like, hey, we need to find a house, got our orders, let's roll. And that's what we're here for. We're kind of your boots on the ground, and we can look over the horizon for you and scope out all the areas. One of the things that I absolutely love doing is Facebook or FaceTime. There's so many different things out there. So FaceTime, we'll walk through properties with individuals and give them really good insight to homes, and so you can see things out here. Because a lot of times on the internet or on the various different websites, you're not going to see everything. But to have somebody walking through the house is pretty cool. So we're here to assist, but we're definitely here to help out with all things housing.
All right. And how do folks get a hold of you or find you?
So we're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all of those things. You can Google us and look at all of our reviews. And we're here, Bo Bloomer and the Checkmate Group, and looking forward to helping you out.
All right. And as a customer, I can 100% say that Bo is absolutely best in the business. Thanks, Bo.
Thanks so much, Robert. It was great working with you, and hopefully working with all the folks out there.
All right. Take care.
just a little bit about me, okay?
Yeah.
Just get back to that part of it. When I was working at headquarters SAC, I took the Myers-Briggs test, okay? And I don't know if, I'm sure a lot of people have, okay?
Yes.
And the results of that came back that, I'd probably be best at being a farmer or an architect because they like to work alone, They
Yes.
don't like to kind of have anybody else involved. And that's by nature who I am. And so it's one of those situations where, you just get to that point where you kind of say that you kind of have to give a little bit sometimes because you just can't have it your way all the time. But it really became a situation, and I'll tell you where it kind of really came into play for me was as you progress through your career, you have opportunities where all of a sudden, you're like a subject matter expert. Okay, you do very well. People recognize you for that. And a lot of times you get promoted on that, because that's what they see. And you build your reputation through that process. Transitioning from that to a manager,
Yes.
I don't know how to say it, but, it's a challenge that you aren't expecting until you sit in that chair.
Yes.
And you don't learn that in college. You're just giving all your technical skills, in college. And then all of a sudden, you're in charge of people. And the toughest part is when you come from your peer group. You were down here working with all these people, and then all of a sudden, you're supervising them. And kind of being more of an extrovert, it became sometimes difficult to kind of, well, how do I discipline this? How do I don't want to upset anybody, okay? But at the same time, you began to recognize that if you didn't do it, things were not going to happen.
That's right.
And in a lot of cases, there were situations where people started, sending things that I'd asked them to do into me, recognizing that, well, he's going to take it, he's going to change it anyway. So it really became a matter of saying, well, I'm not going to have to do much. I'll just give it to Ed, he'll just go ahead and change it and do it the way he wants it. But the thing that I kind of looked at was that a lot of the stuff, these people that are pretty smart, that are experts in their field, don't know how to write things outside the technical terminology for somebody at the base level that doesn't have that understanding. And that was where the challenge was. But, going to that extent of being a manager wasn't the fondest thing I did, but at the same time, if you're going to progress in your career, it's hard to kind of go to that level without going into a manager position in that.
It's funny you say that because I haven't done it yet for the podcast, but I've had a lot of folks because I've mentored a lot of people through my career.
Yeah.
And so coming soon, I'm going to do kind of mentoring moments, little nuggets about things like that. You many times on the federal side, you are selected for a supervisory job based off of your technical prowess.
Exactly.
And you get that kind of the interpersonal people supervisory training after you've become a supervisor. And some people struggle with that. My very first supervisory job was a bear, and because I didn't know how to let go. So people bring me stuff, and I was like, "That's not right." And just like you, I was just doing everything.
Yeah. No, I mean,
so yeah,
you're in that scenario where I can't let this go out the way it is.
Yes.
Okay, I just can't do it because my name is going to be attached to that.
right.
And if it doesn't suit you, you're just only hurting yourself and probably everybody else out there that's getting that. And a lot of things were just situations whereby a lot of people are good, like you say, what to do, but they can't write it the way it needs to get done. But I think to a large degree, that's one of the, I guess, I don't know, foibles of being in a situation where maybe you're too hands-on. Maybe you got to let go. And those are situations where you kind of have to look at it and say that you got to put your stamp on it, but at the same time, you got to let some of that stuff go just because of the fact that somebody else put some time and effort into it.
Hey, old government guy, Robert here. I just wanted to take a few minutes and reflect on that clip with Ed Bakunas. I didn't include that in his original interview because at the time I had shared with him that I'd been thinking about doing some mentoring segments as part of the podcast. If you know me, you know that I've spent a lot of my time during my career mentoring others because I believe you got to invest in the bench if if you're going to build the bench. And so with that, I am going to move forward with a segment called Mentoring Moments. It will be short little snippets, lessons learned, I think, that you're not going to hear about through a lot of professional development or leadership courses. So what I plan to do is, when I find time in a podcast, not for every episode, but just share some tips of the trade and things that I've learned throughout my career that I shared with folks that I mentored. I didn't want to tip my hand too soon. I wasn't sure I was going to do it, which is why that excerpt from Ed's interview wasn't included in his original interview. But I think I am going to go ahead and do it. So if you're a mid-career professional and you are sitting around thinking, what next? Or if you've started out in your career, or if you've got someone in your office that you think would would benefit from some of these mentoring moments, I just ask you to kind of tune in, look forward to them. I'll try to get those kind of rolling here in the next couple of episodes. I've got 6 or 7 topics identified on the notorious whiteboard, and I'll start working through those and incorporating them into future episodes. Hey, Robert here. If you find yourself traveling down I-40 in eastern Oklahoma and you need a quiet place for the night, stop in and see my friends Kelly and Jody at Ambassador's Inn and RV Park, where they aim to provide you 3 things: a clean room, your restful night's sleep, and probably a wacky story, because Kelly is full of them. But don't, and I repeat, do not let him tell you a joke. He's terrible at jokes. Kelly and Jody aim to provide a clean, quiet, uneventful stay. Ambassador's Inn and RV Park is an American-owned and operated small business where your peace and comfort are their top priority. You'll find Ambassador's Inn and RV Park at exit 278, where a safe and homely atmosphere awaits. Be sure and tell them the old government guy sent you. For more information, you can find Ambassador's Inn and RV on Facebook, or give them a call at 918-463-3727. And there you have it. We just wrapped up another episode of The Old Government Guys, a Rapid Point studio production. We're always on the lookout for new folks to highlight, so if you know someone who deserves to be recognized, let us know. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Please reach out and send us a note at ogg@rapidpointstudio.com. Old Government Guy Robert here. Just wanted to thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to like, follow, or subscribe, and make sure you tell a friend about the show. It's our goal to be your 3rd favorite podcast, so keep the suggestions coming in as we work to mature our platform. And once again, thanks for tuning in. Goodfellow? Greenwood. Sorry.
Read the paper.
Here, I'll write it.
Greenwood. Well, because there's the Goodwood Festival of Speed. So I have to do this association thing if I'm going to remember names.
RPG.
Yeah. Greenwood. And then I'm like, Goodfellow, that's an Air Force Base.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I don't know anything about Greenwood.
Can you
Tulsa.
see that from your angle?
I can.
Okay.
Yes. Are you ready?
I guess.
It's just fun. It's
Okay.
low key.
And if I do anything weird, you can just delete
I can
it.
edit out. Okay. All right.
It's not going on TikTok, so I'm good, right?
That's right. So one of when I sit down with folks, I said, this is a one take, all mistakes recording. But I do edits, yeah. But sometimes I do that just to make people go, what? And then
That's
you start
funny.
recording.
That's
I
funny.
did everything. Yeah. I'll put my serious face on.
No
that.
giggles.
I'm trying hard not to. So now I'm going to have to completely
Yeah,
ignore
'cause
the
he's
fact
gonna
that he's
be-
over there.
Yeah.
What are you doing back there?
Making faces.
Show us the same professional courtesy that we showed you.